welcome to the latest installment of Truth Noir. I'm joined here by a new guest host, Dirk. Dirk, what's your last name for the NSA to keep track of you?
Beecham.
Beecham. Dirk Beecham, guys. This guy.
Yeah.
I've known Dirk for a long time. He's a fellow concerned citizen and seeker of the truth, and we're glad to have him on tonight. We have been, as always, bombarded with all kinds of nonsense in the news. Dirk's been looking into it a little bit. Dirk, why don't you introduce yourself? I'll hand it over to you for a second. Let the good people watching know what you're about.
Well, my name is Dirk Beecham, and I love our hero here, Donald Trump, who's, guess some of his hair color went down on his face here. But yeah, he's really, even amongst Republicans, he's special, like Special Olympic special.
Like special ed.
Yeah, and oh man, I just, did you see the Anderson Cooper thing? The interview?
No, I don't think so.
It was great. They showed the highlight. I only saw the highlights.
I saw his speech where he was all down on the
and
Mexicans.
he said he just goes, if I become president, I'm gonna do more bombing, and I'm gonna bomb the right people. And
oh yeah, I remember that.
And Anderson Cooper goes, well, who's the right people? Well, the right people. And then he's just like, well, who are they? Well, the terrorist guys.
They don't like it when you press it, like when you ask them more questions.
No, and he just got flustered
after their talking points. Dirk, as I'm sure you're well aware, there have only been 3 things that have been happening in the world.
Okay.
Right. There's been Donald Trump running his mouth.
Yeah.
Being a general all around fun time idiot, and then let's see what else we've had going on here. There's been Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah. Our hero. She's supposed to be a hero.
The mass media bombardment of how you should be accepting and nice to her, which of course you should.
Yeah. But forget about all the other issues.
Yeah, what we're dealing with is. We did this in the first episode of my show here. We in the first episode of Truth Noir, we talked about propaganda and mass media distraction. Yeah, distraction.
I mean, because right now we have a coming crisis with our food, just with our food, and it's been most countries except for United States, China, and India, even South America, Russia, and places like this, which usually tend to let corporations kind of run a little roughshod. Mm-hmm. Even they ban genetically modified food, and we never voted on it in this country. And it is prevalent. More and more crops. First it was corn, now soybean. Now they want to fix our apples. And get this, here's what Monsanto thinks is wrong with our apples. They want to be able to cut an apple in half and set it on the counter and then decide not to eat it and then come back a day later and it'll still not be brown. That's what bothers them, that when you cut an apple in half, and that's a hell of a thing to be bothered by, is that when you cut an apple in half and then you forget to eat it and you come back like an hour or 2 later, we've all done that.
Right.
It's a little brown. It doesn't really even taste any different. It just changes color. And
which is natural.
Which is natural, and it's part of being alive, and what makes it so good for you. But they're going to fix that, thank God. We're going to put a stop to those brown apples.
Yeah, and it's one of those.
Of course, it'll screw up our kids, and it's funny. They always talk about zombie apocalypse, and
we're already there, man.
We're going to have a zombie apocalypse with our food, not in our plants, not with people, but you'll have
undead food.
Yeah, undead food.
Well, yeah, and Monsanto. I hadn't specifically. I feel like Monsanto is a topic for a completely.
Yeah, I just went off on it. I went off on it because it's like, all right, we're worried about Caitlyn Jenner. And sure, yeah, we should have equality, but you know, I mean, we got to feed the gay people too, and the transgender people.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely. And well, you know, Monsanto is one of those things where, you know, it's like they have so commandeered and they call it like big agro. You know, they've commandeered the agricultural community.
And we never voted on it.
Nope. No, they just were there all of a sudden.
Yeah, and whenever you hear a closed door session in Congress, they're not passing a law that would really help.
No, of course not, man.
You know.
And you hear a lot about things like that these days. And, you know, Monsanto is one of those big contributors where, you know, it's not just food. They also control pesticides, and they were the manufacturers of Agent Orange that you know, helped decimate the nation of Vietnam during our little you know, debacle with them.
Yeah.
That we, you know, manufactured in the, you know, 60s and 70s. And yeah, we'll get to that. You know, if you're ever down to, you know, come back and talk to us.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Because I know, you know, sometimes you know, people watch the news and they get fed a bunch of garbage, and you know, the people, you know, not to put the spotlight on you too much, but you do have a couple years on me, you know, of history that you've been paying attention to, and I think that's what a lot of people lack these days. Is, you know, people are so buried in their phones and social media and whatever got said on Fox News today, that people that were actually around in the, you know, not too distant past. You know, You know, if you were around and old enough to be paying attention.
My dad got me into reading the newspaper, and so I read it throughout the 80s, and you know, it's one of the things is you don't. Somebody Bill Maher brought up one time. One of the bad things about getting your news now from the internet, though I do get my news more and more from the internet, but it's funny because the internet has these things that they pander to you. So whatever you click on, they'll feed to you. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, I have MSN as my homepage, and you know, once in a blue moon, I might hear something about, well, there was, you know, they want to raise the minimum wage, or it might be something. It's usually not very liberal, but it's more liberal than what other people get.
Sure.
There are right-wing friends of mine that would never get any kind of a positive hint on minimum wage. They would get a very negative one because of their history of clicking. So in other words, you're kind of fed the news that they know you're going to gravitate to anyway. Where in the old days, when you read the newspaper, you read everything. And sure, it had, say, the LA Times, which is most of the time the people I read, it had a certain type of a slant, of course, and but it was, I read articles that I wouldn't normally stumble across and read.
Right.
And same thing though for everybody, right or left, you kind of were more on the same page of music, and so unless you're a person who didn't read the newspaper, which there were plenty of people, they were like your pre-Fox News people. But other than that, though, you had, you know, conservatives and liberals coming kind of to the same table, where now there's like, you sit in a room and I go, somebody will say something about minimum wage, and I'll go, God, that guy's an idiot. Didn't he read his homepage 2 days ago? And then he's looking at me saying the same thing. He goes, well, didn't Dirk read his homepage 2 days ago about how Obama's not bombing enough people?
Screwing up the country.
I love that one.
He's not,
he's not bombing enough people, which scientifically he's bombed a lot.
And it's one of those things where it is very polarizing, while at the same time being the greatest tool for the exploration of knowledge that the world has ever seen.
Yeah, if you want to look for something, the internet is well, it's like it's like a library that's open 24 hours a day, and that you don't have to go to. It's just there.
It's there in front of you all the time.
So it's great for research. If you want to look something up, it's the best of times when it comes to that.
But Dirk, there's only been 3 things going on in the world right now.
Okay. And then what's the third thing?
You
said
so
two
there's
things.
there's
Caitlyn.
You got to
there's
be
Donald.
nice. You got to be nice to Caitlyn Jenner. You got to be, and my pictures always get completely. And
look
the
at that.
Confederate flag, right?
Oh yeah. Now here's the funniest thing. When I was a kid,
I'm sorry. There's a Nazi flag too. I didn't
Yeah,
see the
you know,
difference
and by
at
the-
first. I
yeah.
thought they were both the same.
it's funny because you don't see modern Germany allow the Nazi flag being flown. You
Nope,
know.
no,
It's a flag
it's-
of treason, and you know that's what the Confederate flag is. It's a flag of treason, and it's.
Yeah, it's a thing. Obviously, it has historical relevance.
I watched the Dukes of Hazzard was new when I was.
Oh man.
So that dates me, and it was, but even I knew that the flag was wrong. And if you were to told me as a kid that, and I knew what it represented, and I wasn't from the South, I was born and raised in L.A.
Sure.
But I knew it, and I was, and there wasn't a lot of black people in my neighborhood. There was a lot of Mexicans, but because I was just. They were more in the Alhambra area, kind of. But I knew enough. To know that it was wrong, and to think that, 2015, it would still be like, well, we don't know it's wrong. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, this whole concept of like heritage, you know, like, and I feel like it's really no different. Yeah, it's part of it's part of the history of a portion of this country, right?
Yeah, but so is a lot of things in the South.
And that are shameful, and it's not to say that the people are shameful or should be ashamed of anything. Time moves forward.
It's like Germany, you know.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah, it is. Look at Germans.
As far as the
Germans have a lot
symbolism.
of pride, and they had a lot of pride before the Nazi Empire and then after. And what it is, they work really good with machinery and inventing things, and they're very industrious, and they're very hard workers, and they're very industrious. You know, they know how to organize and things, and but that's a great thing, you know. So they don't need to have. Well, during Nazi Germany, we also built things. Yeah, but you know, you also did a lot of horrible things. So they get rid of that, and they're fine with that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of Southerners are good workers. They're great workers. I worked at the oil refinery.
There's plenty to be proud.
Yeah, to be proud of
about
that a Southerner knows
that
how
is
to
coming
work
from the
good.
South these
Some of the
days.
best
Absolutely.
military soldiers, Army soldiers and Marines come out of the South. They just have a natural ability to do certain things well.
amazing culinary and music traditions.
Oh my God! Be proud about that, and none of that has anything to do with the flag or the revolution. And by the way, that's a treasonous revolution when you're shooting at.
Right, like I mean, and
soldiers,
it's
you know.
it's really no different.
It's anti-American, by the way. So it's anti-American, and yet in the same breath, I bet you the same people that roll up the Confederate flag when they're done waving it around, go to a Donald Trump rally, and then complain that their fellow Americans aren't American enough. It's like, wait a minute, you were just waving a flag that said it was okay to blow up America in the White House.
Well, yeah, and to blow
You
up
know.
other places, and what I'm
Along with a
trying
bunch
to-
of every other black person you
yeah,
get your hands on.
You know what I'm trying to be
that's,
about on this show with and also I try and pick people as you've been good enough to be here.
How many
tonight.
episodes have you had?
This is number 5 right now.
Wow. Okay.
And so yeah, we're off to a good start. And I try to have people on that are about nonviolence,
Yeah.
anti-slavery, and basically anti-bullshit. And being able to look past it, read between the lines, and being able to recognize that, like we did one on propaganda. That was our first episode, and I don't know if you remember the picture of it was a Muslim woman, dressed up with the Arab flag behind her, holding a copy of the Quran and a gun. And it was supposed to get you all amped up to be like, oh, we need to go fight the Muslims now because they hate America. And then there was the antecedent of that, like the opposite, and it was like the cute blonde-haired, blue-eyed American girl dressed in red, white, and blue with the American flag behind her, also holding a giant gun and the Bible.
Yeah.
And so our argument for the first episode was, this is the same thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to get pissed off at one and all amped up on over the other one, you're not seeing outside of the box.
Yeah, or at least to see that while the one with the Muslim one is meant to incite negative emotions in Americans, that is, by the way, the exact the blonde-haired girl
is the exact same thing. It's targeted at the Muslims.
Yeah, and they have that same picture, and they will flash that, and that gets their anti.
Yeah, they're supposed to hate it just as much.
If you can't see that is that happens, then it's. It's kind of like it's like that thing. I have a joke. But it's like an acid test, how I know if a person who goes to church on a regular basis, if they're full of crap or not.
Okay.
And here's a joke. If Jesus were to die, be crucified, say, tomorrow, we'd all be wearing little electric chairs around our necks. Now...
Oh my goodness.
And when a Christian laughs, then I know, okay, he understands the concept of everything.
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily mean he can still be a firm believer, but he understands and he's got a thing about it. But when I meet people go, and they're all like they're like boggled and they're frightened a little bit.
Blasphemer.
Yeah, and they look at me like there's something wrong with me. Then I look at them like there's something wrong with them, because I mean that is how that would go down,
I mean,
so it means they're not. So ironically, while they run around the world saying that me and everyone else don't really have a good handle on Christianity, it would be my
your argument
connotation that they're the ones that don't seem to have a firm grip on Christianity.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the exact kind of thing that we're trying to do is, read between the lines, pull your head out of your ass, without, I don't mean anyone any disrespect, I mean, we all come from a rich heritage where we have all been brought up believing, different things in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of growing up and looking around you. And if you're, and especially like if you're going to tout yourself as a religious person, and if this is, a Christian nation as people have said it is, then live that truth, like actually abide by and act in fashion with the teachings of the main character of your book.
Yeah.
And he didn't say anything about hating gay people and discriminating. That's all Old Testament stuff.
I've sent some things to you on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The episode, a couple episodes ago, we did a little analysis of, because I looked into it, and I was like, all right, man, did Jesus really hate gay people like all of the Christian, Westboro Baptist assholes are talking about? And then I was like, oh, nope, they didn't. There's a couple mentions in the New Testament saying that like homosexuality is like a
but that was by
shameful
Apostle
lust,
Paul.
and
That was Apostle Paul.
yeah, Paul had a little bit to say about it, but for the very most part, it was not present in any of the Gospels.
No, it was no. It was only the letters of Paul. Which, by the way, a guy who admitted that he and Paul writes over half of the New Testament single-handedly, and Paul is an interesting character because the story is Jesus went up to heaven, and Jesus said, "Oh shit, I don't want to leave 11 apostles down because I need the number 12 because I got to round it out because Judas offed himself."
Right.
So he came back down and he talked to this guy, Saul, who changed his name to Paul, and said, "Hey, you're going to be another apostle. You're going to be apostle." And then Jesus left again. That is a weird cockamamie story. And then he goes on to write over half of the New Testament single-handedly.
Right.
And all the other 11 guys, 4 out of the 11 guys write something, and then the other guys, and then they find out that actually there was 2 more, but they just got lost.
Well, yeah,
Which,
those are
by the way,
the books of the Apocrypha.
yeah. There's the Gospel of Judas that got lost, and I guess man is made in God's image, because since man is forgetful, then God must be forgetful, because he lost 2 Gospels,
Right.
and then the Gospel of Thomas,
Sure.
and then there was, well, and actually there's a third gospel, a Gospel of Mary. They found out.
Mary Magdalene, right?
Yeah, Mary Magdalene. And so that's just Time Magazine, which is normally very conservative and kind of just more mainly, mainstream Christian. They actually did a pretty good one that was actually pretty honest and open, and that was they talked about Mary, and they talked about her gospel, and so.
Well, and I feel like to, I want to get moving on to
Oh, yeah,
a
yeah,
couple other
yeah,
little
let's just
things,
move
but,
on, let's move on.
but yeah, the Bible as it exists today
Yeah.
was heavily edited in the 3rd century with the councils of Nicaea.
Yeah.
And there was so much stuff that was cut and edited out
Yeah.
by who? By pagan Romans that had no care for what
They're big
what
big
the message
businessmen.
actually was.
They're big businessmen.
Yeah, they
and,
wanted to cut out all of the stuff. This was right before it became the Holy Roman Empire, before they adopted Christianity, and they wanted to make sure that they could keep people giving them their money.
Yeah, and if you notice, in Paul's end, there was just a lot of anti-sexual stuff, and it basically was, it was also very, all the liberal shit was taken out.
Yeah.
All that Jesus stuff, because
Yeah, all
Jesus
the
had a lot of liberal
socialism,
shit.
all the-
Yeah,
yeah.
that was all got all that.
Yeah, well, you
So-
don't.
And so we actually, to this day, Christian churches. I remember, I like what a guy named Tom Hartman said.
I like
we
Tom Hartman.
Yeah, we actually practice something. We actually practice Paulism more than we do Jesusism, and because it's his teachings that the church, whatever it is, be it Catholic or Protestant or Mormon or Jehovah's Witness, all these, and they all like to tell how each other was, but they all got one thing in common, and they're very Paulistic in how they always lean on that teachings more than they do anything else.
Yeah,
And the Jesus stuff, because Jesus is pretty liberal, and they kind of sweep that under the rug, we're all
because-
equals, and,
well,
and we
Jesus-
shouldn't be torturing and bombing people. They're really light on that, but boy, they're really hot on that.
Well,
No sex
Jesus-
before marriage.
Jesus
and they're really
was
hot on that.
He was the one that said, I am there under every rock and stone. Faith is the size of a mustard seed.
Yeah.
Wherever lieth your heart at night, there is where I live.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And so there's nothing in there that says you need to go to church and give someone your money, and you need to listen to how you should discriminate against people. And it's it's a shame.
Yeah. Anyway, so what's your?
So we got a couple other little things going on in the world. We'll get to that one in a little bit.
Look at you! You got your thing. Oh, you're controlling
man,
it.
I'm
Okay,
controlling all of this, man.
dude, you're like a maniac.
Okay, so here's some other stuff that has happened in the world, and you've got Caitlyn Jenner there again. So what we have here, and it's kind of a cute little thing, but it actually belies a very, very serious event that scientists the world over have been confirming with their studies, and that is that we are entering the 6th great extinction event
Yeah.
that the Earth has known in its 4.5 billion
Yeah.
year history. And so the little sad dinosaur that says all my friends are dead, he went out a long time ago, about 65 million years ago, and it is not since then
Yeah.
that scientists are confirming that we are seeing an extinction of animal and plant species
It's kind of funny
faster
because
than has happened since then.
yeah, it's kind of funny. They're talking about that now, but like it's new. But any book I had read about the state of plants or animals on the planet, I kind of deduced, okay, we're going through an extinction. The past 500 years has been an extinction level even greater than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, and because more species are dying than back then, and so what was I going to say? But anyway, yeah, but there's a book out. If someone just wants to read one book, it's called A Green History of the World. And it never even used the word or the phrase, well, we're going through a mass extinction period. All it said was it showed you how we got our food, starting 10,000 years ago to now. And just showed you how there's certain ways we had to make, steel and iron. So you have to, first we used to use wood. So how much to make a ton of high-grade iron would take so many tons of wood.
Right.
And then when we went to coal, how many tons of coal would it take to make steel? A ton of steel. So it just talks about things like that, and when you get done reading the book, you realize, and then wherever people went, they had to move off the wild plants and wild animals that were on there and put their domesticated plants and animals there, and then themselves. So, and then every now and then they would overwork the land, and then that land would be a desert or a semi-desert, and then they would have to move on. And those plants and animals didn't just come back, they were gone permanently. So when you realize how many acres they did that to over the centuries, that,
Well, and I feel like this is, one of those things where back then they had to, because they didn't have the sustainable technologies that we do today. You want to smelt ore, you have to make a fire that is hot enough, and you only have the natural fuels that are around you. You have to burn.
Yeah, and now they have more insulated furnaces and everything.
Yeah,
but still, we need to cap our population growth.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that, I think that this is something that we've helped contribute to. And we were talking last episode, you weren't here for it, but we were talking about the IMF and the Greek, debt crisis. But it was more about, debt crisis by way of exploring some things that have happened in the past. And one thing that the IMF does is, they are a lending entity. They lend nations money at interest, and nations are not able to pay this interest debt, and so what the IMF does is they demand privatization of utilities, natural resources, and so when you have
basically it ends up having a permanent stranglehold. So they're like the mafia. You never get free of them.
Yeah, you know that. Yeah, that pound of flesh, right, that the mafia used to take has now become. Now you owe us a third of your country, and so if you're a developing nation like Brazil or Ecuador, you have all of this. You have all of this land, mineral wealth sitting underneath your soil, but it's also sitting underneath these vast rainforests that are they operate as the sort of lungs of the world. And so when you cut down, you burn down this land to clear a way for when you demand privatization, and now we're going to drill here for oil, so you have to clear out all of the wildlife and land. It comes on a much, much larger scale than the early Industrial Revolution ever did.
Oh yeah, the IMF is a horrible organization.
And then it turns out when you dump a bunch of oil and you burn a bunch of trees, it turns out that a lot more animal species go extinct in the process.
Oh yeah, and plant species.
And and that's what they were saying on the terms of 15 to 100 times faster than the average level. Like every once in a while, an animal species is going to go extinct for various reasons.
But it's going at an alarming rate.
With the help of humans, it's been going quite a bit faster. And so that was one thing that has been confirmed in the news recently. And here's a good one. Normally the news is all about like talking about natural disasters and things like this. I heard recently, and when this happened in France, maybe 10 years ago, there was a big heat wave, and a lot of people died.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was hundreds of people, and it was all over the news. They're like, oh, it's a terrible thing, So a similar thing happened in Karachi, Pakistan, and it was like one of the worst on record. So what happened in Karachi was they had about 100-degree heat, and you would normally say, oh, well, big deal, right? We have 100-degree heat. But they had it under 65% humidity. And so when and this is a heat index right here that is brought to us by the CDC. We have like a wind chill factor that maybe it's cold, but if the wind is blowing, it feels colder, and so your ambient temperature is calculated down a little bit to what your perception of it is based on the wind chill factor. And so you can have like a 20-degree Fahrenheit temperature that feels like it's 10 below because you got an icy wind blowing. Okay, well, the same thing is true for the heat index. And so what happened in Karachi was you had a 100-degree temperature with 65% humidity. So if you follow that over and you do a little bit of
it was 132 degrees.
132, and that's the 60%. So if you go by 65%, you split the difference between 132 and that's almost 140 degrees. That is the human.
And so how many people
perception
died?
Of that? Over 1,000 in 5 days. You don't hear anything about that, right?
No. In Pakistan?
Yep, in Karachi, Pakistan. And so, our hearts go out to those people. Hopefully the weather has cooled down for you, and, you don't hear
When
about...
did that happen?
This was at the end of June through, I believe...
You mean just this last
recently.
June? Last month?
Yeah.
Wow,
At the end
I
of the
didn't hear
month.
anything.
Yeah, no, of course not, because because the Confederate flag is
so important.
And we gotta hammer into people's heads that you gotta be nice to Caitlyn Jenner because Americans didn't know that already. Right. And I'm sure they didn't. There's a lot of jackassy people in the world, but yeah. So
like that damn show that's on an hour before yours. Oh, I hate that guy. What's his name?
I
forgot his name.
I think he gets a bad rap, but
all right. I hate that guy. Damn it.
But so this is something that was going on in Pakistan that got swept under the rug, but because they're not like our allies, and because they are not our direct trading partners, now the news media doesn't give a shit about them. So there's that, and let's see what else. There's Caitlyn Jenner again. My goodness,
she's looking good though.
Just trying to.
Do you ever think about you might want to?
Would you ever
lay with her? Oh
my God! Really? Did
a sinful
all of my
way?
Photos get deleted here? Okay, there we got one.
Hey, what happened to all your photos?
I don't know, man. Was that all of them? I hope not. All right. Anyways, so all right, we're gonna settle on this.
What time is it?
It is 11:40 right now, so we've got a couple minutes left. Okay, so some other things. We had the mass extinction event. We also we had a study recently that cannabis oil has been highly effective in killing cancer cells and also treating autism. That like these kids that had autism that didn't speak and didn't want their parents touching them are now all of a sudden coming out of it with these studies with cannabis oil, and they're starting to speak after years of being silent. And of course, this has to be swept under the rug because I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of money to be made by fighting marijuana, and marijuana is, that's my belief, but also I believe it's the truth, because I looked into it. Obviously, when I first got out of high school, I never smoked marijuana until I got out of high school. Then I went to community college, and I was introduced to marijuana, and I loved it, you know, like most young guys.
Sure.
And so, but you know, and then of course, being a person who likes to read things, you know, I'm like, well, why? What is going on here? And first, you know, I went through the phase that, the kind of naive phase. I thought, well, maybe just people are ignorant. Maybe they just need to have it explained to them. And then, but the more I read, the more I realized, this is a whole money-making thing. Our government and different entities make money. Off and on throughout history, the 20th century, the CIA made money by being able to fund some of their secret illegal wars that Congress wouldn't give money for. The DEA makes huge amounts of money, and majority of their money comes from fighting pot, and busting marijuana people are much easier than buying a meth head. Busting a meth head. Meth head will hurt you. He'll fuck you up. You know? But you mess a pothead up, and it's an easy bust, so it's like, and it's easy money. And so what would happen is, if marijuana became legal tomorrow, and which most people want, even right-wing conservatives, even people that wave the Confederate flag, even people who don't like gays, everyone wants pot to be legal because no one's, you know.
Yeah, no one's getting hurt by it.
Yeah, so, and everybody likes it, no matter what your political slant. People like pot, and or they remember, like me when I was younger, I liked it. But anyway, so where was I going with this? Anyway, but there's money to be made fighting it. If they stop fighting it, the DEA would have to lay off maybe easily 50% of all their employees.
Right.
Now,
and we can't
that's
have
a
that,
lot.
can we?
Well, now if you lay off 50% of your employees right off the bat, the first thing the president's going to have to say is, well, I'm going to have to also cut back your funding. And you know, and then there's always been talk that the DEA should never exist. No other country has a DEA, and they do a far better job fighting drugs than our government does. So they're saying, you know, why doesn't the DEA get absorbed by other entities, and you know, like the FBI and the ATF and all these other organizations, and it shouldn't exist at all. They do a lot of surveillance, so that maybe some of them need to be, you know, like if you fire 50% of DEA agents and took the other 50%, the best of the 50%, the smarter, the better ones, and then just transfer them into the NSA, the FBI, ATF, why you just get rid of the DEA altogether? So there's a lot of lobbying for that. And then, of course, to this day, there's still a lot of secret government organizations that make money off of fighting marijuana. And then also, you know, a lot of this marijuana that they capture, or whatever it is, meth or heroin, it doesn't get burned. You know, a lot of it gets resold and resold.
Yeah,
and it's
sent to drug cartels, or
you know, it's just really nasty stuff. And where the rest of the world, another reason why the rest of the world doesn't spend hardly any money on fighting drugs, but they do so much of a better job fighting drugs, is because they don't do that. They, you know, Russia or Europe or Japan or China, they make their arrest, they take the stuff and they burn it. And if they need money, they take it out of people's taxes, and even if it's now China and Russia, they might want to do dirty things like our CIA does, but they have a system where they don't need to hide it. They hide it. They could just hide it more openly, if that makes any sense to you. They just, if they want to, you know, yeah. They just go to the government and they say, we need to take tax money, and then that's it. Where America's got this weird thing where, like, haha, look at, we cut funding for the CIA and their little secret torture shops over in some country, but they didn't really close those shops. the CIA went and sold some drugs, and now they got money to just keep on doing business. So it's this weird kind of thing. But who gets caught in the crossfire is we have all these people going to jail now, and we just have still huge amounts of drugs just floating around our streets. You know, and it's just lame. It's just we just spend all this kind of money on it.
Well, my opinion of it is, when you declare war on a sort of like intangible thing, like it's a concept. You declare war on drugs, you declare war on terrorism, you declare war on poverty. What is it that you see everywhere? You see drugs, war, and poverty everywhere. And you know,
I like what Ralph Nader says. You know what he says?
Let's declare war on hot chicks, and then they'll be everywhere.
Yeah, let's do that. Hot promiscuous chicks. But Ralph Nader says, and he says this every time the presidential election comes up. He's been saying it that I know of since 2000, but he's probably saying it before that. And that is the question that never gets answered by Democrats or Republicans. What more would have to happen wrong in the war on drugs to make you think that it was a failure? And no one ever wants to answer that, because if you think about it, everything has gone wrong. Not like one thing, everything. Well, did the death rate go down?
Nope.
No, it went up. Did the incarceration rate go down? No,
nope,
it went up. Did the death rate by ODing go down? No, it went up.
Right.
Did theft that was directly related to drug offenses go down? No, that went up. Did police shootings, no, did that go down? No, it went up. Did drug addicts shooting cops, killing cops go down? No, that went up. Everything that could possibly go wrong. Did children, did divorce go down? No, that went up. Whatever you look at it,
well, you know, and after a certain point, you have to just kind of assume that that's the way it was planned. Like the way it seems is that the intent was never to wipe drugs off the face of the earth. It was just to confiscate money,
get
big land grab, and to fine people, to just squeeze a little bit more out of the American public.
It's just a money-making thing, so many different ways.
And at that point, you know, you kind of have to start thinking about yourself as a, you know, citizen of this nation. And is that what you want your money to go towards? Like, and that's what I kind of want everyone to think about. Like, as we're going through this life together as American citizens, ask yourself these questions. What is it like? You pay taxes, right? That's not a thing you have a choice in. So ask yourself, what would you rather have your tax money go towards? Would you rather have, yep, that's me, buddy. Would you rather have your tax money go towards researching, you know, a $1 trillion new military jet? I don't. I would rather that $1 trillion go towards putting kids through school. How about if we make school and healthcare free for everyone with that $1 trillion? I've heard it said, and this is by
way poorer countries than us have better healthcare programs.
Yeah, right.
And you know,
well, and I've heard it said by UNICEF that maybe not world hunger, but definitely people having drinkable water, clean water to drink, would cost a few $1 billion, right? Or maybe 10 billion, maybe $100 billion. But it's not $1 trillion. We could get everyone in the world clean water to drink, and they would probably think that we were less big as shitheads than they do right now.
Oh man,
we could do that, but nope. We need a new implement of you know, murdering people. That's what we're going to spend our money on, and you know, is that what you want? If that's what you want, you're a shithead. Like, you're a huge asshole, and you should not be saying things like, I want my tax money to go to murdering people, because that's basically what you're saying. So stop doing that. And, you know, and I try not to be like super polarizing on this show. Like, I don't really give a shit what your political beliefs are, or what your religion is. All I want you to do is read between the lines of what is going on here. Understand that you are they're attempting to make you a victim of propaganda and psychological manipulation. And if you're not one of those piece of garbage people that wants to see people murdered in the streets of somewhere, you know, around the world for no reason, then stand up and say so, because that is what your tax money is being used for. Your tax money is being used to
Hey, is there somebody standing in that window there?
Yeah,
See?
that's the
Is that somebody watching us?
That's
An
our
alien watching us?
That's our alien overlord
Okay.
that my guest host protects me of, sometimes at the cost of their own lives. So thanks,
Wow.
buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It was nice knowing you.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, that's basically, you know, what my soapbox represents. Like,
Yeah. Did you watch the show before yours tonight?
I did.
I
a
wanted to
little
get
bit.
here, but I just was so
usually
busy
go
I
through
couldn't.
kind of my own neuroses of.
Oh,
kind of
okay.
getting
You're
ready
working
for
out. You're
my
getting ready for
own-
the show.
getting
Okay.
into- getting into
Yeah. I
getting
wanted to
myself-
come. I wanted to come early, but I
getting
couldn't.
myself amped up over all of the things other than you know, the Confederate flag that have been going on, and you know, so pay attention. Like, if you're getting your news from Fox News or MSNBC too, they're opposite sides of the same coin. It's sensationalist, and the news.
You know, it's a good thing I've gotten into.
What's that?
Is well, I've been reading Ralph Nader books for a while, and since 2000. So I got I'm on my fourth one, and
Okay.
and this another one's coming out, which is great. It's called Unanswered Letters, and I want to buy that. And it's like really benign questions, like the one I asked earlier, like what would have to go wrong with the war on drugs before you thought it was a failure.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
And just simple. He's got these simple, pain in your ass questions, and
but that tell like these really profound truths about
Yeah.
society, right?
yeah, and so. So that's his most recent book. Anyway, he's got a radio show, and an hour. It's called Ralph Nader Radio Hour, and you can go to ralphnaderradiohour.com, and he makes 3 to 4 a month, and they're really good, and you would eat them up. So yeah.
I've never really had a problem with anything Ralph Nader has to say. The only arguments I've ever heard against Ralph Nader are, well, the things he says are against what the established you know, order of things is. Yeah, some things would have to change, and the truth of the matter is some things do have to change. Otherwise, we will quickly find ourselves in the same financial predicament as the European Union is going to find itself in pretty soon. It's not just
he's a good American, and he's you know, he teaches a lot about, you know, good citizenship stuff. And
yeah, you know, and another thing that I'm tired of is people saying, you know, if you question the way the government does something, that you're not a patriot and you hate freedom.
oh yeah, which is obviously
And
the
that's
exact
another line
opposite.
of- yeah, that's another line of
opposite.
horse shit that has been fed to people. You know, that it's like, oh, if you don't want to go kill terrorists, that's a big campaign thing that I noticed in the last election.
here's
was
one thing you
everyone
like
talking
to
about
hear.
killing terrorists, and
One little thing about unrest in the Middle East. I heard, finally, I heard, I don't know if I heard on the internet or saw it on the internet, but, you know, Syria's been unraveling for several years now. And people are like, but the way the news portrays it is like, God, it's like a magic. So anyway, what's happened is that they've had a 5-year-long drought, a severe one. I guess it coincides with the heat wave in Pakistan.
Right,
anyway,
yeah.
but they've had one so bad that 75% of all farms had to be abandoned.
oh wow,
So these farmers are flooding into the cities. In other words, they're just not spontaneously wanting to become terrorists. They're people starving, with their families starving, and they have nothing else to do. And, you know, gangsters run the cities, you know, just like any poor person in America in the old days. When he's desperate, he goes to the gangster for a loan, but now he owes him something.
Right, and then you have to do.
And then you gotta bomb something. You gotta do something to get that cash. You know, you don't get paid for free, or you lose your life.
Right.
So if you gotta drop off a package and it blows up a school bus, well,
Not to cut you short, but we are out of time.
We are out of time.
I want to thank Dirk Beecham again. He's a good man, and a knowledgeable individual. Hope he can come back one of these days.
thank you, and I like your show, and you're a knowledgeable guy too. You know, and did I tell you I hate the guy that's on an hour before you?
You know, I did. I don't know if I can get on board with that. I've never had any bad experiences with him. But you guys, I'm going to do my closing here real quick.
Hate that guy.
The things that you're seeing on the news are meant to distract you. Stop getting all amped up about them and look into things for yourself.
And go to Ralph Nader Radio, RalphNaderRadioHour.com.
I hate to quote LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow, but don't take my word for it. Look into it for yourself. Wherever you're going, get there safe. Try to be less ignorant